right, welcome back to our final session. I really want to know what are some of your key takeaways from all of those previous sessions. We had 20 speakers, which is a lot, right? A lot to take in and a lot of different topics, a lot of different strategies, tactics. Is just my main recommendation was for you, at least in the beginning, and then I mentioned this a couple of times, is do have a list of tactics that you're planning to work on and then just prioritize them and just work through them. But I'd like to introduce my final speaker here, and that is Sebastian with a company called Method Data, and we're going to talk about custom integrations and reportings and making HubSpot the sole source of truth.
Natalie, thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Delighted to be here, and thank you for putting on such a great event. It's been a long day, but some amazing speakers. So thank you very much. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about us, and then I'll move on to the topic. So we're a technical consultancy based out of Baltimore in the US, and we do consultancy around two things only: complex data integrations and custom and out-the-box dashboards and reports for HubSpot. And I'm going to try to answer three questions today that we get asked again and again by direct clients within HubSpot and marketing agencies. So the first question is, and some of this has been covered in your previous talks, but I'll look at it from a slightly different lens. And the three questions are: I use multiple applications across my IT requirements. Can I integrate all of those into HubSpot? Second question is, I manipulate dozens of spreadsheets every day or every week or every month. I use pivot tables, and I spend sometimes hours, sometimes weeks every month putting data together for the CFO or the CEO or a board or whatever it might be. Can I eliminate the manual manipulation of spreadsheets? And then the third question, is HubSpot reporting powerful enough today to make my reporting the central source of truth? So if I build integrations between various applications back into HubSpot, is the reporting powerful enough to make it the central source of truth? And the answer is yes and no. And I'll talk through it as we go. So I'll start with the first question. And the question that we ask every company before they come to us is, why do you need an integration? Is it something that you think you need, or is it something that you really need? And we ask people to think about a couple of things before they undertake an integration. The first is, do you want to eliminate manual, repetitive, everyday tasks that could be automated in some way? I spoke earlier about spreadsheets and pivot tables. That's a great example. There are many repetitive tasks that you could do. The second question is, how much of what you're doing could be subject to human error? So yes, it might be efficient. It might be efficient to pay somebody 2 or 3 days a month to do that manual work for you, but a lot of human error that can happen if you're copying and pasting, etc., etc. Is it possible to eliminate that human error? The third question is your data in silos? Is it in silos where it's not talking to other sets of data? And is there an advantage to bringing all that data into a central source of truth and then build reporting around that and the metrics and the vision and the insight and everything else that it's going to give you? And think hard about where all of your data is to enable you to make data-based informed business decisions. The fourth thing is, what are you trying to automate? Do you want to automate business processes outside of what HubSpot can do? HubSpot's got amazing automations, but are there business processes that you're doing manually today that an integration of some kind could do to automate that process? And then, are those real-time insights that you're going to derive into the health and the state and the risk of your sales and marketing activity, etc., are those worth spending the money on? Is it going to help you make more business? Is it going to help you generate more sales? Is it going to add value to your business? And if the answer is yes, then if you answer yes to all of those questions, or some of those questions, then we say it's worth thinking further about the integrations you're going to build, and then the reporting around that, and how you go building them. So I'm going to talk through in a bit of depth what to consider when you're undertaking an integration. To kind of think quite hard about it before you do it, because the money and time spent is significant, but the benefits potentially are huge. So we tend to, with our clients, we start at the very bottom and say, are there alternatives? Could you use some of the native integrations? There've been discussions today on various native integrations. Is there a straightforward native integration? Can your team, with relative ease, if they're not technical, use one of the native integrations? Is there something as simple as Zapier? We're often approached by clients who say, want to integrate ABC application into HubSpot. Could we do it? And we say, we can, but if you spend 2 hours with Zapier, you could do it yourself. Pricing has been mentioned many times. Great tool. Can pricing be used, or is the integration too complex? Is data coming from sources that are not compatible with pricing? And then, is there an alternative platform? Is there an alternative application? Do you need that application? Is there an alternative application you could use that could easily get the data into HubSpot? The next question is API research. So how are you going to do this integration? Are you guys APIs? Are you going to do webhooks? Are you going to web scrape, et cetera, et cetera? So looking at, do the technical due diligence as to whether that API actually gives you access to the particular data that you want. Is that API at rest, or is it a different type of API? Does it allow you to transfer the data that you're looking to transfer? Are there restrictions? HubSpot's APIs are getting better, but I think they're very aware that there are issues around the APIs. They're not as powerful as they could be, and they're working towards that. And it's going to do so. So what are the limitations, not only of the APIs or the applications that you're looking to pull the information from, but HubSpot's APIs if you do a by-way integration? And then how are you going to test this? You can do all the homework you like, you can play as much as you like, but when you actually come to rolling it out live, how are you going to test this integration? How are you going to weed out all of the quirks that are going to come out? And then the final question around us, is it unidirectional or is it bidirectional? Then all the preparatory work. And integrations are successful, not so much from a technical perspective. There's always quirks within HubSpot and the applications, and those need to be worked out. But integration is successful when you put in your due diligence up front, when you map it out thoroughly, when you take a Lucidchart or the equivalent, and you map out all of those applications and how the data talks, where you build spreadsheets that show all the data that you're mapping across, all the business restrictions, all the KPIs, all the business objectives, etc. Once those are mapped out, all that preparatory work, then the client understands the integration they're going to get, understand the benefits that they're going to get, and that's what makes a successful integration. Not so much the technology. The technology is, does its quirks, and HubSpot certainly has its quirks, and you need to understand that. But it's the thought that goes into that initial planning that makes that integration successful. And then, is there an actual migration required to initiate migration? Do I need to migrate in the initial information? Think about that initial information, and do I want to migrate everything? Clients often, the challenge to help clients think about, I'm using XYZ data today, I'll migrate all of it across to HubSpot. And we sit down with them and say, do you truly want to bring all that data across? Or is it force of habit that you want to bring that data across? Can we eliminate a whole lot of data? It's a lot easier to eliminate it up front than pull it all across and try and sort out HubSpot afterwards. So have those deep discussions internally about what data you want to bring across and why you actually want to bring it across. Then the data processing itself. How do we monitor for errors? How do we monitor that the data is actually being processed? Do you use a cloud service? Is there an internal server that you want to use instead? And is it being done on-prem or in the cloud? Then we think about the data extraction. So how much data? What is the velocity of the data? Do you pull it across hourly? Is it real time? Is it daily? Is it monthly? Every business is different, and the need for real time updates, it varies on a business by business basis. Do you understand the data they're looking to integrate and transfer and manipulate? How do you want to manipulate before it goes into HubSpot? How do you want to manipulate it? So you don't have to do that manipulation when you do your reporting further down the line, and think about your reporting and how you build that reporting from the moment you start the integration. And then what trigger gates, what checks do I have in place to validate that the correct data is being extracted and being inputted into HubSpot, and the other way around. And then think about the data sensitivity. Are there HIPAA issues? Are there compliance issues? Is there GDPR in the EU issues? And how do I have that? Do I say I just, the risk is too high and I'm not prepared to take it on, or do we find a way around that to mitigate the sensitivity of the data? And then the most important thing is, what do we do post the extraction of the data? So we extract the data, we put it into HubSpot. How do we build reporting around that? And the final question I asked at the very beginning when I made my introductions of can I make HubSpot the central source of truth? And we are approached by probably half our clients who are looking to build a relatively complex report within HubSpot, and they come to us and say, HubSpot's custom reporting is strong. It's much better than it used to be, but we're looking to build much more meaningful and deeper reports. Can you do that for us? And we build a platform now that enables us, if we have access to that data, which we almost always do because we've got access to the APIs. Can you build us almost any report that you want? And we reach a stage now where we can build any report that anybody wants. But the key to building those successful reports is having the successful integration and bringing the data across that is meaningful to the business, and building the reporting around that is meaningful too. So I'll talk through our process, and we've got a relatively high-level process as to how we undertake integrations, how we think that anybody who would undertake an integration, if you follow a methodical process, it leads to a really strong outcome for the company that's trying to do the integration. So we undertake that due diligence, all that technical due diligence up front. We then determine which is the best way to transfer the data, whether it's APIs, whether it's webhooks, whether it's web scraping sometimes. Document the detailed workflows, document the detailed mapping, so this data to this data to this data, and the back again if it's byway. By HubSpot, if required, almost always we do a lot of integrations with applications like Salesforce, etc., that have actually PySync built-in integrations. But because of the way that the client has set up HubSpot in the first place, and the way the Salesforce has been set up in the first place, it's often becomes in a manual integration with significant workarounds behind the scenes. So HubSpot has to be modified in order to allow the in order to make sense for that integration. Sometimes there's design to be done. Do we need to do any UX design to make it look better? All those gates, all those triggers, all those business rules. How do we document all of those? How do we understand all of those? Then we undertake the integration, we test, and then we support and we monitor. And if those steps are followed diligently, every integration is similar. We're approached often to do an integration between a very, very random third-party application that is not well known within the industry. And the client will say to us, have you done an integration between ABC application? And the answer is always no, because they're just, there's millions of applications out there. But as long as you follow the same process every time with the diligence of mapping what they want, help them understand what they want, and then build the integration accordingly. So that's kind of how we do integrations. And then the interesting part comes along. So as I said, we have a portal now that allows us to build any report of any kind that anybody wants, with any filters, with any type of flow, whether it's a pie chart, whether it's a bar chart, whether it's line graphs, etc. Where they want to download spreadsheets. So kind of the world's your oyster when it comes to data. And there's almost no report that we can't build. So the integrations themselves are important. It's really important to get them right. But then the fun part comes from those customized reports that truly give the clients the insight that they need. And half the time, HubSpot with their custom reporting can get them where they want to go, or get them 3/4 of the way to where to go. But our clients come to us with more complex reporting needs than HubSpot can offer, and that's where we add the value.
Wow, no slides, almost 20 minutes. That was amazing.
No, I did. I thought there'd be so many slides today. I thought I would talk through what we do and how we do it. I have got a deck that I can share with you, and you can share with people offline. But it's a integrations there's a technical challenge which most people can get around, but it's the human side, and it's the interaction and the engagement with client that makes a successful integration. It's the thoughtful planning of what that integration looks like that makes them successful. There's a PySync's great. It does very good out the box integrations, and there are many generic integrations that do a great job. But if you've got 3 or 4 applications with thousands of data points and you want to make that integration successful, you've got to be very thoughtful about how you integrate and make sure that there are no conflicts. Data, particularly when there's a lot of integration points, can conflict, and it becomes a mess really quickly unless you're very thoughtful about it. So it's It's that long-term planning with the client to get them to what they really want that makes these complex integrations successful.
Sebastian, and I think this is perfect closing to the summit. And I think this session was just absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for giving us such a great framework and letting us hear on your thoughts and your thought process, how you think about this. So this was very valuable. Thank you so much for this.
It's an absolute pleasure. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone. This was our very last session. This was an exciting summit. A lot of speakers, a lot of sessions. So I appreciate all of you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us a message here. You got a couple of emails from us. Otherwise, Sebastian and every single speaker has made this summit. I was just here, just kind of moving things along, but they did all the heavy lifting. So thank you so much, and look forward to chatting with you again. We are going to host more summits like this, so if there's any recommendations, feel free to reach out to us. I would want to hear your feedback on this summit. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.